Have you ever wondered why the forbidden always feels so irresistible? From unattainable lovers to untouchable desires, the allure of what we can't have is almost magnetic. And today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind why the forbidden seduces us so completely. The allure of the unattainable. We all want what we can't have. It's almost cliché, isn't it? But there's a powerful psychological truth here. Our brains are wired to value things that feel out of reach. The moment something becomes unattainable, we place it on a pedestal. It's no longer just desirable, it becomes a symbol of status, of worth, of something exceptional. Imagine this. You're at a party, and there's someone across the room who seems completely uninterested in anyone around them. Their body language says they're detached, their gaze distant. Suddenly, they're the most fascinating person in the room. Why? Because their inaccessibility makes them a mystery, a challenge. This is the allure of the unattainable in action. This is why it's critical in the game of seduction to maintain a balance. If you make yourself too available, you risk losing that spark of intrigue. The key is to remain just out of reach, enough to make someone feel that being with you is a privilege, not a given. The magnetism of mystery. Speaking of intrigue, let's move to our second reason, mystery. Humans are naturally curious creatures. When we encounter something or someone we can't fully understand, our brains go into overdrive. We analyze, we imagine, we obsess. The unknown is like a puzzle we're desperate to solve. Think about it. Why do people love mysteries? Whether it's a gripping thriller novel or the enigma of the paranormal, we're captivated by things we don't fully understand. This same principle applies to attraction. When someone keeps parts of themselves hidden, when they don't reveal everything up front, it's incredibly seductive. This is why being an open book isn't always the best strategy in seduction. Holding back, just a little, creates a sense of depth and complexity. People are drawn to what they don't understand, to what keeps them guessing. So, embrace the power of mystery. Let your layers unfold slowly, enticingly. The dopamine high of the chase. Now, let's dig deeper into what's happening in the brain during these moments of desire. The pursuit of the forbidden activates our dopamine system. Dopamine, as you might know, is the feel-good chemical, the one responsible for pleasure and reward. Here's the catch. Dopamine isn't just released when we achieve something, it's released during the pursuit. The very act of chasing something, especially if it's challenging, floods our system with this intoxicating chemical. This is why the thrill of the chase is so addictive. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's attention feels inconsistent? One moment, they're fully engaged, and the next, they pull away. That push-pull dynamic keeps you hooked. It's not just emotional, it's chemical. Your brain starts associating that person with the highs of dopamine, and suddenly, they're all you can think about. This is why playing hard to get, when done subtly, can be so effective. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding the natural ebb and flow of attraction. The chase is exciting, and the longer the pursuit lasts, the stronger the bond becomes. The power of intermittent reinforcement. Let's expand on this with a concept called intermittent reinforcement. This is a psychological principle where rewards are given unpredictably rather than consistently. It's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. You never know when the next payout is coming, so you keep playing. In relationships or flirtations, intermittent reinforcement plays out when someone's gestures of interest are inconsistent. Maybe they respond to your messages right away one day, and then they're distant the next. This unpredictability creates a sense of anticipation, which heightens attraction. Why does this work so well? Because humans are wired to respond to uncertainty. When we don't know what's coming next, we pay more attention. We invest more energy and we become more emotionally involved. This is why being a little unpredictable in your interactions can make you unforgettable. Forbidden as a symbol of exclusivity. Next, let's talk about exclusivity. The forbidden isn't just appealing because it's out of reach. It's appealing because it feels special. When something is rare or restricted, we immediately assign it higher value. This is why people are often drawn to individuals who are already in relationships. It's not just about the thrill of the forbidden, it's about what that exclusivity represents. If someone is taken, they must be desirable, right? They must have qualities that make them worth committing to. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Exclusivity isn't just about being off limits. It's also about how you present yourself. If you carry yourself with confidence, if you exude an air of self-worth, you naturally become more exclusive in the eyes of others. You don't have to be forbidden to be desirable. You just have to embody the qualities that make people feel like being with you is a privilege. Resistance fuels desire. Let's move on to the idea that resistance fuels desire. This might sound counterintuitive at first, but think about it. The harder something is to get, the more we want it. When there's resistance, whether it's external obstacles or internal hesitation, it creates a sense of urgency. Imagine you're trying to win someone over, but there's a barrier, maybe distance, circumstances, or even their own reluctance. That resistance doesn't deter you, it motivates you. You're no longer just pursuing a person, you're pursuing the idea of overcoming the odds. However, this only works up to a point. Too much resistance, and people may give up entirely. The key is to strike a balance, creating just enough challenge to make the pursuit worthwhile, without making it feel impossible. The thrill of the challenge. Speaking of challenges, let's explore how they play into the seduction game. Have you ever been told you can't do something, and suddenly you're determined to prove everyone wrong? That's the thrill of the challenge at work. In seduction, this can manifest as playful teasing or subtle dares. Maybe someone questions your ability to impress them, or they playfully challenge your wit. This taps into our innate desire to rise to the occasion, to prove our worth. The challenge creates a sense of accomplishment when you finally win someone over. It's not just about the person, it's about the journey. This is why playful banter and intellectual sparring can be so effective in building attraction. The psychological play of contrast. Let's shift gears to something a bit more nuanced: contrast. The interplay of opposites, interest and distance, warmth and aloofness, can create a powerful dynamic in seduction. This push and pull keeps the other person on their toes, constantly wondering where they stand. For example, imagine you're deeply engaged in a conversation with someone, and then suddenly you pull back. Not in a rude way, but just enough to create a pause. That moment of distance heightens their anticipation for your return. This is the psychological play of contrast in action. But here's an important note. While this tactic can spark initial attraction, it's not sustainable for long-term relationships. Over time, constant contrast can lead to emotional instability or trust issues. Use it sparingly, as a way to create intrigue without undermining genuine connection. The balance between accessible and forbidden. Finally, we arrive at perhaps the most crucial point: balance. Seduction isn't about being completely unattainable or overly available. It's about finding the sweet spot. You want to be just accessible enough to spark interest, but not so accessible that you lose your allure. This balance is what keeps the game exciting. It's what makes someone feel like they have a chance with you, while still leaving them eager to work for your attention. But remember, this isn't just about playing games. True seduction is about authenticity. It's about showing enough of yourself to build a connection, while still holding back just enough to keep them curious. Mastering this balance isn't just the key to attraction, it's the key to lasting, meaningful relationships.